When you're dividing, it's called rationalizing, and this is with monomial bottoms. Monomial means one term, so there's just one part in the bottom. And how do you rationalize? You want to multiply by I. So by I over I, because technically I over I is still just 1, because anything divided by itself is 1. So that's how you're going to get rid of this. So for example, I'm multiplying this by I over I. So the I has to go to both of these. So I get I minus 8I squared over 3I squared. Well, here's why this works. Because you know that 3I squared is really 3 times negative 1. So your denominator is becoming negative 3. So you have I minus 8I squared over negative 3. And then you also know that negative 8I squared is really times a negative 1. So it's I plus 8 over negative 3. And you can take that negative sign out in front. You might also see it as the negative I minus 8 over 3. It could go either way. That's just dividing everything else by a negative. But if you get to this point, that's okay. Okay, so same thing here. We're multiplying by I over I. So this has to go to both. So you're getting 7I minus 6I squared over 4I squared. So the I squareds are going to become negative 1. So this is really going to become plus 6 and minus 4. So your answer to this is going to be 7I plus 6 over negative 4. And again, you could switch that around so that your negative sign isn't in the denominator. So multiplying this by I over I is going to give you 8I over negative I squared. Well, you know that this is the negative of negative 1. So that's going to be 8I over 1. And 8I over 1 is just 8I. On this one, multiplying by I over I again, this has to go to both. So I have 10I minus 8I squared over negative I squared. Your I squareds are negative 1, so this is really going to become plus 8, and this is really going to become the negative of negative 1. So that's going to be 1, which is going to give you the answer of 10I plus 8 over 1, which you don't need to put over 1. Multiplying by I over I, so I have negative 3I over 2I squared. We know that 2I squared is really going to be negative 2. So your answer to this is negative 3I over negative 2. Well, two negatives make a positive, so you have 3I over 2. Multiplying this by I over I goes to both. 4I plus 5I squared is negative I squared. So this is going to give you a negative 5. This is going to give you the negative of negative 1, which is 1. So you don't need to write a denominator with this. You can just write it as 4I minus 5, and that's your answer to this. Okay, so then to our last two on this, multiplying by I over I. So this is going to give me the negative signs out in front, 6I over 3I squared. So that's going to be 6I over negative 3. The negatives are going to go away, and 6 divided by 3 is 2, so you get 2I. Same here. 3I over 7I squared, which is going to give me 3I over negative 7, which you could also pull out in front like that too. Either way.